game of this best-of-5 series. Riddle take on Astralis. It's a Scandinavian showdown, and only one of these teams will be moving forward to face down our spring split champions in X7. Everything on the line as we head onto the Rift.
And actually, I really love that you mentioned that it is a clash of playstyles for both of these teams. I think what Riddle have done in the NLC is extremely unique. The fact that they can be the only team that can very successfully play most of the times through their side lane, whilst also crafting a very strong, undivable 4-man core. And look at the core right now, the Trundle, the Yone, Seraphine, Rakan. How in the world do you engage, even if you're a 5-man, into this team?
It's rough.
They're extremely defensive, they've got a bunch of mobility, they've got a bunch of shields, heals, so many things that they can help them evade any sudden engages. And then of course on the side lane you do have Jax Plank on a Darius that wants to snowball. But also we've seen Darius's, they're running the Ghost, very pivotal for the laning phase, chase down your opponent, but it's also the tool that helps you in the team fights to reach these carries in the backline.
And that was always a thing with Darius, right? Like when the reworks came through, he's like, look, I can get in. Oh no, the stopwatches. Oh no, I don't have access. Juggernaut, class problems. This is frustrating. But actually, as the meta's changed and the ability...
Remember old Frozen Mallet Darius?
Oh, good God, yes I do. That and Frozen Mallet Yasuo, 24th Frozen Mallet.
Beautiful.
Was
beautiful
a thing.
stuff.
I believe Impact on Cloud9 beat Huni, who was looking undefeated on Immortals at the time with that pick. It was a bit of a surprise at the time. To throw back some very different stances. A little bit of shade thrown by Trouble quietly in the back end of that. One thing I will say as well is, I remember I cursed Chrisberg on the Zeri the last time, but he has had some good games on this, and this isn't necessarily the easiest composition unless you absolutely go ham to get on top of the Zeri. Like, you've got a lot of melees and a Seraphine. So maybe the Zeri can get some stuff done here as well.
I think
it's skill
put him back to his fountain, you know? But talking about Chrisberg, let's talk a little bit about Astralis and what their blueprint to success has been. Because Summer found them with a very not successful split, but Spring has been difficult. And it's crazy because it has been on these mans that we see right now on our screen's shoulders. It is Kiba linking up with Taxa, getting that early game aggression. Taxa has been able to get in without being spotted. Stefan is also there.
2v3 and he has to go right back, flash away from the direct line, but flashing forward. Seismic Shove goes wide because Vladdy presses the S key. He's burning down, but he will survive. Ooh. The Astralis blueprint straight in action.
A little bit of miscommunication right there from Taxa and Kiba. Kiba could like flash and bonk with the passive on the head and then get the anchor in. And oh my God, there's another one.
Goes wide. Nash is here and Vladdy stays alive. I think we just had an example of case in point right there, where you talk about the Astralis blueprint, they all turn up mid. I
didn't even get to speak about the blueprint. So the blueprint is, they said it on the desk as well, Taxa feeds Senkax, then Senkax feeds Chrisberg, who's playing alone in the bot lane, because Kiba is helping every other lane on the map from really early on. And actually Chrisberg is the one that usually suffers through that, but it's mostly his CS in the very early of the game that does suffer. He then ends up ramping up on picks, especially like the Zeri that scales a lot into the late game, right? So far, Astralis blueprint has come true in the mid lane. Taxa has already been there, level 3. Of course, a lot of bans were thrown Taxa's way.
Yes.
All of the Ested junglers were taken away as Stefan gets the Trundle for himself. But Taxa's Lee Sin is one of his most known champions. If you want early game aggression, and the other champions have been banned at ST, we've seen a bunch of Lee Sin over in the LPL, the LEC.
And like, you have to be a very good Lee Sin player. Like, there are certain players, so people like Ona, for example.
He almost won the challenge.
Exactly. He did a very good job with it. And otherwise you can get a bit punished, as Nash has gone in the bot side and Stefan's around, but without a flash, not the easiest to make this one stick. Just getting a bit of a shove in there. We can kind of go back to talking about some slightly broader topics, because both of these teams have had blueprints. We've talked about the Astralis one, which is, you know, go mid and then mid goes elsewhere. And they've done that very, very well. On the other side, Riddle were really known in the early split for Stefan being on these junglers that got super farmed, and then also the side hustle. Jax Plank on his signature picks, becoming an absolute monster to deal with.
So here's the thing. we saw earlier in the pre-show, if you haven't guys watched it, I would recommend you do, the trajectory of the wins and losses of Riddle. So very early into the game, very early into the split, Riddle wasn't playing with their full lineup. They had to play with a couple of stand-ins for that moment, and it was a little bit of an up and down. The middle of the split, when they actually had the whole roster and they started playing the game the way they wanted to, teams hadn't necessarily figured them out. They didn't know how exactly to shut them down. They didn't know exactly how to shut down Jaxplank on the side, and it was becoming this sort of learning process by method of elimination. You would eliminate ways to shut down Riddle until you found it out. Teams by the end of the split though did find that out, and they were shutting down Jaxplank in the side lane. Now what's really worrying right here, as you will see that both teams are very ready to fight the 3v3, is shutting down Jaxplank, which Astralis have in mind right now, but 4 members are ready to go for Riddle as well.
Edge line lands, but Stefan's coming up. Jaxplank got a lot of healing, flashes away. What can Astralis do now to try and extricate themselves as the Pillar of Filth comes down, doing what they can to turn this one around best they can. Tax taken pretty low, but that's a fantastic seismic shove. Secures first blood for Tax as Lee Sin. Now Stefan being ward hopped onto, and Senkux claims a second. Astralis get there first. Astralis punish faster.
Real quick, that's what you do with Talia. You shove in the wave, you join your jungler, you join your support, and you play for side lanes. Kiba, yet again, on the go. Crispec staying pretty safe down there. You see that Kiba linking up with Taxa yet again. We said this Darius needs to snowball if he wants to have a pleasant team fighting later on or a side lane. He's not gonna get to have any of that. He loses his flash right here, and because Senkux is first to the play over Vladdy, he ends up losing his life as well. As Taxa gets one for his troubles, Senkux gets another one. They blow exhaust, they blow flashes, which means that Jaxplank being level 5 and not 6 yet could be susceptible to getting ganked or dived even further. As you'll see, Senkux with the level 6, with the Weaver's Wall, could be having a real vacation towards the top side of the map.
Absolutely, and I think at this point, I'm going to bring up our jungle matchup as a bit of a head-to-head, because both these junglers have been really critical to their teams in the early game, and Taxa, as part of that blueprint, getting him rolling and getting the mid lane rolling together here, been so impactful. Already got 2 on the board. Great stuff for Taxa. It's not like Stefan's been a slouch in the jungle department either.
Yeah, but as you will see right here, Taxa is very consistent. First blood 28% of the time, first death 28% of the time. He's not one of the most active when it comes to getting on the board, but the fact that he will go mid, he will take the flash, allows then Senkux to play even more aggressive, get his solo balls that he has been getting. Talking about mid lane, Taxa is there yet again.
Gets the flash kick, the face shield is not enough, as Vladdy finds himself straight in the grave. Beautifully played by Tax.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think his stats are going to change after this game initialized massively, because 4 bans were thrown towards Taxa, 4 STA picks in the jungle. He brings out his Lee Sin, Weaver's Wall towards the top side. Jaxplank, what have you got?
The Astralis mid-jungle is beginning to roll, and Jaxplank's got a ghost and a prayer, but he's getting cast into the wall. And if you're buying, well, Gragas is certainly helping pick that one up.
Well, he's in, because he did give assist and a kill over to Senkux. Really good stuff. Astralis working so well together, and it all starts again. Bot lane, Kiba roams mid lane, they take the flash. Kiba roams top lane, they get 2 kills. Kiba goes mid lane, helps Taxa again. It has been non-stop aggression and proactivity from the support jungle duo of Astralis, which then in turn frees a lot of the pressure from mid lane and top lane. Carlson right now is sitting ahead in these items. Senkux, the same thing with Talia, is able to have his stopwatch activated as well that early on. And it's just when you free pressure, when you have the extra kills, Astralis really know how to put that into their carries, and then their carries just suddenly come online.
And we were talking about these kind of opposed blueprints, and Astralis right now are managing to build themselves towards a victory pretty well here. They hit the topics we asked of them. You know, we set it up, and conveniently they showed us exactly how they standardly do it, and they've done really, really well. Tax has got things rolling in the early game, Senk's got going as well. And honestly, we've seen what happens when Jaxplank becomes a non-factor for Riddle, and often it doesn't look pretty. We do now need to see whether they can stabilize, whether Astralis can continue the advantages they've got and keep up the tempo, because they have been pulling off these repeated ganks very rapidly in this early game.
Absolutely, and now I'll give a little bit of the benefit of the doubt to Riddle, because they have a bunch of scaling as well. Yone, it becomes an absolute menace in the late game, and also having Seraphine right there. Oh, hold on, Crispec.
Bad start. Crispec will have the spark surge, so will walk over the wall without too much more done to him, but he's forced away from the waivers.
Talking about Seraphine, never mind, because Taxa has found himself Stefan.
Skullcrab as well gets the kick, trying to force him back. There is a subjugate running and a flash available for Stefan, but there's just going to go down. There's nothing to be done. Stefan, you saw in those stats as well, high involvement in both kills and deaths, and right now Taxa is running rampant, involved in absolutely everything on the map for Astralis right now.
He's a solo bowler right there from Taxa. Sees jungler, kills jungler. Subjugate means nothing when you've got whip and a bunch of other items in your inventory. He's also gonna pop that Rift Roll towards the top side of the map. Now, we've talked about the Rift Roll towards the top side of the map, especially when he kills towers, because this is a double-edged sword, whilst Crispec is getting dived in the bot lane and gets out.
Picture, misses the cleanse just slightly, but will survive. And the top side tower goes down.
There's
Jack's
4
down
members
along the lane, and Astralis are waiting in the pushes, lurking to get a hold of Vladdy, but it's a 2v1 on multiple sides. Vladdy ignited, taken down on the top side. Stefan gets hit by a sonic wave into the resonating strike, and it's 3 of those, and he's straight out. Dredge line and a death charge will secure one for Jack's flank as well. Keeban goes golden, the Herald charges again, and Astralis can do no wrong. What an extraordinary series of plays that sets them 6,000 gold ahead at 11 minutes in.
If any NLC teams are watching this, is one of the best synergy I've seen from a support jungle duo to try and get every single lane ahead on the map. Very well done from Astralis. Crispec 1v2s, the bot lane dive doesn't end up dying. Look at how Astralis have actually set up in the jungle. Kiba is there yet again, helping Senkax get rid of Vladdy, while Staxer and Carlsen are actually decimating the top side of the map. And not only that, Kiba aggressively flashes through the wall because he knows Senkax has his cooldowns back up and they can chain up their CC perfectly. Hourglass are there, add insult to injury by not even killing the support. And Riddle right here, they're falling massively behind the temple. Taxa playing aggressively once again. He doesn't have any teammates around this time.
Just been going absolutely other. Another Weaver Storm comes out, and there is nothing to be done. Another stitch in the tapestry. Kevo flashes, but not quite escaped as yet. Does go down. Taxa, of course, picks it up, lands another Sonic Wave, but they won't need any more. 9-0 on the board, and when this team gets ahead, they are so oppressive.
I'm gonna say though, we've been seeing this team this entire split. I've not seen them do that in the early game. It feels like Astralis playoffs buff is real. Crispec needs to be very careful to not get caught right there.
A bit punished, not taken super low as
Never mind, Zeri.
Gets a surge his way over the wall and grounds himself on the other side of it, safe and sound. The only person not involved with anything right now is Crispec. He's like, I'm just scaling. You guys win this one for me.
It's fine. He's like, hashtag, I'm scaling, boys. You win the early game because you have to. Talia needs to get ahead. Yes, Caesar mates, but doesn't do the most consistent and blow-up damage later on in the game. Something like a Victor, for example, would do, or a Seraphine that's full AP, right? Gragas, the same. He's mostly there to set up and do some pop damage. But later on, it is Crispec Zeri that's going to be carrying these fights with a consistent AD damage coming in. And again, 6,000 gold difference for Astralis. 13 minutes into the game. Mid lane, 1.3k ahead. Jungle is 2+ gold ahead. Plus the top lane that Riddle snowball from the side of Riddle is actually sitting on a 1k deficit, so you can see how the gold is actually very evenly distributed around among the map for Astralis. It's not just one person holding it, and as you will see, Senkax is also choosing the very safe version of the first mythic as well.
It, really?
Exactly.
So
he's going towards the crown. Darius will not be able to kill you. Vladi on Dione will not be able to kill you. Certainly not Seraphine.
Yeah, like basically Seraphine's the only one with the ability to pop that crown from range. You're not necessarily going to be seeing that unless it's in a team fight, and that's not going to happen that much when Senkax is looking to be the roaming menace he has been with Taxa all game. Taxa gets rooted, but they're not going to be able to follow up on that. It's just no opportunity, and they're so far behind. It is triage for Riddle right now, and I just don't know how much they've got to work with. As Crispec was on a ward, needs to be a little afraid of Vladdy, who is going to try and find something here. Does land the mortal little fate seal, but there's the turnaround, trying to make sure this happens. Crispec just doesn't die. They don't have the damage being this far behind.
I think they were very scared that somebody was going to be in this tri-bush, and they actually let go of the trigger. I'm pretty sure that Vladdy had flash, he had ways of capitalizing onto Crispec had he jumped through the wall as well. But they're very scared to give more kills over to Astralis, especially when it comes to that Zeri that hasn't had any kill participation yet. You start giving her kills as well, the game is pretty much as good as over. But Riddle, very behind of the play. The Dragon goes down. They have 5 members down bot. What are you doing there? You need to start getting some CS onto your champions. You need to get that Darius rolling, level 11 ultimate, to try and decimate somebody with it. Kiba in a very dangerous position right there, but it is Riddle that's going to be back in, and right now, it's pressure all over the map.
And brief break from the slaughter to remind people, we do have a wonderful hashtag NLC pets, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is my dad.
It's Ziggy B.
And that's Ziggy with her doggles on in a bike as she gets biked around. The coolest dog in town is what I love to think about. Remember, you can throw those up on Twitter and we'll put them on the show. Always nice to have those moments of community connection, especially while we're watching this kind of rampage from Astralis here, who are really, really showing us how it's done in this first game. You see it in the momentum meter as well. Duckling clearly in control, and rightly so in this one.
Denmark.
Indeed, Denmark reigns supreme right now, at least in game one.
I actually want to give major props so far in the game to Kiba and Taxa. They have created most of the opportunities for the team. They've linked up so well together. You see how Kiba is actually shadowing Senkux every single time. It feels like Nash, even though he's been one of the most proactive supports that we had in the league, the one with a more diverse pool, it feels like he hasn't necessarily been able to do much in this game, even though Kevo hasn't necessarily been under any threat playing 1 versus 1 into Chrisberg. Feels like Nash has fallen a little bit behind, and Kiba, 5 out of 9 kill skill participation.
Doing really, really well. And of course, you know, you get Senkux on a roaming mid as well, makes him easier to get his lead around when Astralis do like to play through that mid lane first. You know, the game plan from Astralis is still the game plan from Astralis, but this isn't a game where they've not had it succeed, where they sometimes fall apart when things don't go as well as they would like early on. This time it really, really has, and I have been nothing short of impressed at how brutally, ruthlessly, efficiently they have taken this lead and snowballed it into Riddle being dead to rights right now.
Now we're past 40 minutes and there's one wall that wasn't swept off of the mid lane. But there are no teleports, unfortunately, on Vladi to try and make this work, create a flank. You see that Chrisberg is almost half HP right there. Senkux is going to actually use his heal to change his spell through spellbook, sorry. But you see how Astralis are like bundling up. They're leaving Chrisberg alone. He shoves in one lane. They bundle up as well. They're gonna put down Riftel, get another tower. And once you've taken so many towers, it's gonna be so difficult for Riddle to face check a completely dark jungle. Oh!
Eva went for the play there,
you know
and he was on a ward as well, so they know that flash is
Can't win them all.
Yeah.
Can't win them all.
They've been winning a lot of them so far, but it seemingly doesn't matter as Taxa lands the kick regardless. The turnaround, though, is pretty good. Can they get enough damage? That Vladdy just doesn't quite have enough. The gold is too big. Finally, they're on the board. But despite a phenomenal encore, they just can't kill anybody.
Spunk is coming in, though, and he does have his ghost available. Chrisberg is very low HP, but he's going to hop over the wall. Luckily for him, the ghost has been popped from Senkux to try and get away as long as he's passive. Of course, that gives him movement speed when he's stuck very close to a wall. But I just want to put in everyone's head a scenario right here where, okay, Astralis is backing on a control ward, it's fine. I want to put into everyone's head a scenario where Riddle are even in gold when this fight happens, because Taxa is going to find a brilliant kick onto Stefan. Yeah, they get rid of the front line, but that Rakan ult into the Seraphine ult, into the Yone ult. Does this happen over and over again and you start bunching in on these shutdowns on your carries, you're gonna suddenly start enabling that late game scaling much earlier than you expected.
A brief look into how Riddle was supposed to be able to play this game if it hadn't snowballed so far ahead of them and the avalanche has come crashing down on their head. Trying to melt through it that time around, but you're right, it just wasn't quite enough. The wallets, the levels, the experience, all of that just too heavy at the minute. You can see it in the items right now. It's 2 items complete for most members here. Whereas you're still waiting for that second item completion on the side of Riddle, and that makes things so difficult for them, especially when Dragon's spawning shortly.
Also, props where props is due. Astralis has been ahead almost 10,000 gold at this point, and Riddle are managing to keep up in levels.
Yeah.
There's not a single member that's above anyone else. Right now, only Carlson has actually dinked. But if you look in the mid lane even, Vladdy's level 12 versus level 11 to Senkux. He's trying to get that Yone rolling as much as he can. But you need to be extremely careful because that Talia threat is always there to try and gank you together with multiple other members. And right now also Astralis are going to secure the second dragon, which is a good thing right now for Riddle because they have one for themselves, which means they have bought themselves 5 more minutes.
Absolutely they have. And a reminder, of course, Astralis have occasionally been known to, shall we say, hit passive modes of setting up for objectives and get a little bit punished around them in times past. This game, it shouldn't happen, but if the worst comes to worst and some of those less good parts of their gameplay come back to haunt them here, maybe there's an angle for Riddle come back, but that is a long way off happening right now. Astralis very, very much in command of this game, make no mistake.
What was the meme? There's no way they can come back from a 0-2.
Oh.
It's like,
yeah, there's no
way Riddle can come back from an 8,000 goal deficit, is there?
Cloud9's not tweeting at us quite yet, so I don't think it's happened yet. GG on the victory. There's no way you come back from 0-2. I think exactly that's the one.
So, all jokes aside, of course, this game has been extremely one-sided for the earlier stages of this particular game 1 out of this best of 5 series. And Astralis have been the ones that have been proactive on the map. Kiba, though, stuck between literally a wall and a hard place.
Throws up a Nami emote. Of course, anybody who's watching the LEC recently will remember the last time we saw a Nami, and that was Mickey X's, where he went 0-10. It was not his best game ever, so maybe that's not the emote to be bringing in right now.
You had to go there.
I did. I mean, it was a game to remember for perhaps not the reasons Mickey would like.
Look at that, though. Riddle are trying to pull off a Fnatic push, but Astralis have been extremely careful. And while Riddle are focusing too much on trying to get a pick going onto Astralis, Astralis are shoving in their waves.
It's not the easiest for Riddle to get through all the disengage options.
Look at the waves. Top lane's pushing, bot lane's pushing, mid lane is pushing, Kiba.
Gets pulled back, but he's doing what they can. The encore comes through for the Weavers Wall now. Going to try and split this one up regardless. Take it so low as Kiba. Does go down. Kevo gets that one. And finally Riddle beginning to fight back as Vladdy goes in. Can't secure another kill. Carlson knocks away the remaining members of Riddle. And they have got the man advantage. How far can they try to flank? Flashes in for a decimate, but can't secure any kills. The marks are on, but what about Chrisberg? Still untouched. The Zeri about to begin free firing over the wall. Nash goes with a grand entrance. Perhaps reimagine that one to a grand exit and they get out alive. But Chrisberg, you can see, if you don't lock him down, his extended damage. Ouch.
I'm just going to remind everyone what happened to Bifrost when they tried to fight a Seraphine in a choke point. They lost their lead, they lost their game, and potentially they lost the series through that game as well for themselves. So twice now Astralis have fought in a very, very tight place for them to be at. And Kiba misses the anchor, which means he hooks himself on the wall, gets too deep. Seraphine ult hits, the root hits as well. This Nautilus cannot move for literally 3 years. And having no flash to get out of dodge when this tricky situation happens means you've lost your Nautilus and you've lost the synergy and the engage that you have together with Nautilus, Lee, and Talia, which means all you can do is pretty much try to play the peeling back and forth game, allowing Zeri to put down the auto attack Astralis at the same place. A few minutes later, a few seconds later, I'd rather say.
And if a few more of these moments happen here in this kind of mid-game stage where, as we said, Astralis have been known to make a few errors, Riddle have an angle back in. Of course, Jax Blank kind of felt himself there. Blew the flash, didn't quite make it work as Taxa face checking this Trundle.
The thing is, slowly but surely, if you keep fighting at the same spot, and I understand why Astralis is doing it. Astralis are trying to bait for the Baron at this point. There is a ward, but it has been disabled by a control ward from the side of Astralis, and I think Astralis just need to start the freaking Baron. Start the Baron and try to fight with the Talia wall, isolate the target and take them down. Right now what they're doing is playing an ARAM, they keep shoving waves, Riddle keeps soaking up the waves, which means at some point, they're gonna hit the items they need in order to try and fight and get a comeback fight. And especially when you're playing that deep into the jungle and they can catch you and actually like it happened to Kiba 2 minutes ago, suddenly the comeback is gonna start happening. So Astralis need to find a way to break that line of sight for Riddle and start the fight in their own terms.
We've seen the playbook, it's gone straight through it, but you begin to wonder, like, how deep does this playbook go? They're very far ahead, they've got 40 seconds, what would be a sole point? Riddle don't have to fight this one, they can wait another 5 minutes. Yes, it's risky, but if they feel like we have fought tooth and nail for those 2 control wards leading into our red side jungle, we refuse to move from this spot, you can understand it. Astralis have kind of stalled a little bit in terms of the explosiveness we saw from them in the early.
I think the biggest difference on the map right now is the 3 items that Senkax has versus Vladdy's 1.5. But if you look at the carries, so to speak, Kevo onto the Seraphine, hold on.
Jax Blank on vision, gets knocked back, but not as far as you quite like, away from the seismic serve. The encore goes through and it keeps Jax Blank alive.
That was a huge ultimate, though, that is no longer there for the side of Riddle. That Seraphine ultimate has gotten them so many picks on the map so far. And Astralis, first in River, Riddle are going to have to give up this dragon and take control with the wards towards the top side of the map, because the next possible objective is going to be that Baron Nashor. You do a lot of damage with Lee Sin, Zeri, and Talia onto that Baron, and you definitely don't want to be caught doing something else if you're Riddle.
Soul point acquired by Astralis, but it's not game or match quite yet. This isn't tennis. We are looking here at a game where Riddle are doing their very best to ensure a
Like
potential
no one
angle to
ever
come and
was.
contest. I refuse to start singing that.
To catch Astralis is their real test.
To
Beat them is their goal. You're welcome.
I will travel across the rift, searching far and wide.
That would be Senkax.
Yeah.
You're
pretty
ruining
much.
that. I was
Okay.
saying it from Riddle's perspective.
I'm trying to come up with pun lyrics on the fly, which is always a risk here. You know, you teach me, I'll teach you, and we'll come up with some better lyrics.
Very artistic
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, well, I refuse to hit the point where I start throwing things to catch wild animals. We'll leave that for another time. That's more and more suspect the more you think about that particular play pattern in Pokemon games. To give away the pun, but Astralis trying to fight for control of this Baron.
Ooh, look how clever that ward. Right outside the Baron pit on the left side. Now Senkax is actually going to spot it because Riddle are just chilling on side lanes. Jacksmack is not moving in. You see that Vlad is waiting for the wave. So they're like, why are they not trying to contest? Why is Riddle not trying to see if we're doing that Baron? And that's because they had exact vision on the fact that the Baron was actually not being started. Now Astralis, they've got the Weaver's Wall. It's one of the biggest tools that you have to separate teams. And if even, stop Stefan from actually entering the pit, which means it's an easy smite for Taxa. But Astralis are looking for the pick first. It's going to be the same damn choke point over and over again. Luckily for them, the choke points have actually widened a little bit because it is going to be the Infernal Rift. So Seraphine ultimates are not as easy to hit.
Critical point here for Vladdy, who has just completed his Immortal Shield Bow, so double lifesteal, of course. Play the Rune King into a few beefy frontliners. Very good with Yone's E, the Soul and Bound. That true damage that comes off the percent HP off Play the Rune King. Nasty when you snap back.
So, it's been a very crazy early game on the Rift. Now that we're kind of like in the mid-game, the power has gone down a little bit, the energy has gone down. I feel like Astralis are very cautious on how they want to approach the situation. They don't necessarily know, again, how to break Riddle. Your blueprint was there from the beginning. Catch someone on a side lane. Have Gragas on a side lane, get Aaliyah to get there, together with Lee Sin. Kiba now is moving towards top side, together with Taxa. If Senkax was too close to this bush, he could get completely deleted right there by Jacksmack. But Jacksmack has been unseen, and once that wave actually goes back, he can enter the river in complete darkness, maybe give his team a chance for a flank in this fight. But yet again, Astralis shoving in that top, shoving in that mid, playing for the top quadrant vision.
That control ward in that bush heading towards the Raptors has been fought over so many times. Astralis finally managed to clear it out. And the stalling pattern continues. Riddle doing pretty well here to prevent easy access. But honestly, Astralis sort of saying, look, we're at Soul Point. We've got a minute and a half. We can force you to fight then. Yes, you'll get a bounty, but we're kind of waiting on that option. I wonder how far away the Infinity Edge is for Crispy, which is another massive break point. Can't find Vladdy, though. Maybe this is an angle. Remember, there's some teleports, there's a Weaver's Wall. This could all get problematic. Soul Unbound down, Weaver's Wall coming through. Fate Seal now used. The cask, I apologize, flashed away from. Vladdy down a couple key abilities there.
And I'm scratching my head right here because you're trying to make a play towards the bot side of the map. And yeah, I agree, Riddle do not have the fastest Baron taking, but you allow them so much control towards the topside river. So even if they try to bait that they're doing the Baron, you actually will have to face check. A lot of the times that Astralis has face checked at choke point or gone into the jungle, has gotten hit by double or triple man ultimates from Seraphine, and someone of them has died. So Astralis again tried to make the play towards the side of the map that they don't want to play towards, but right now that they're on top side of the map, they want to play towards Dragon.
And the moment you bring that up, it is a time to remind everybody we've got 40 seconds until that spawns, and Astralis are at Soul Point. Yes, it's been slow for the last 10 minutes or so, but that gold lead is still there. That Infinity Edge literally just got bought by Chrisberg, and Astralis is saying, you have to fight us now or face the dire consequences.
Oh, but look how close Kevo is to that death cap. Can we see how much gold Kevo has in his inventory right now? Because he does have the teleport to get back. Kevo's going to be going back to base. Does he have 1,100 in his inventory? Yes, he does, and he can TP straight back. That's a huge power spike for that Seraphine. And again, I think Astralis have left Riddle to scale a little bit too much. Now Riddle is online. They have their item breakpoints, and they can actually team fight.
Have Astralis taken their foot off the pedal too much? Have Riddle held on long enough? Soul is alive and available. Astralis holding court in the river, trying to dare Riddle to find their way through the maze of players. Jackpan's got Ghost, forced to flash out of Senkax. Depth charge comes through, turnaround trying to come along. Massive cask onto multiple people. Nash at the backside keeps Senkux away from doing too much damage. Fate sealed to the backside, but they just don't have the damage. Carlson is dead though. Wait, no, Riddle. Have Astralis really waited this long? It's a cleanse from Chrisbag, but he can't run far enough. Shut down, and Riddle have found their way right back into the game. 8,000 gold, a game that seemed unlosable, and Riddle find a team fight to bring it right back into a playable state.
Astralis took their foot off the pedal for way too long. 2 items on the Yone, 3 items onto the Seraphine, 3 items onto a Darius that was literally put into his grave for the entirety of the game. Look at the CS deficits, 304 for Jaxplank, 233 for Carlson. This Darius starts rolling, and even though there was a fantastic team fight actually from Astralis, a 4-man kick into a 3-man body slam into a bunch of knockups for Talia. There was no damage, there was no follow-up, there was too much scaling, too much peeling, shielding, healing. Coming from Riddle, look at this again, Taxa will get a fantastic kick onto Stefan. That was a 5-man kick from Taxa right there, into a 2-man knockup, into a 3-man cask from Carlson. And they just do not have the way to front to back. Riddle have barely lost any HP bars.
I really want to call it out as well. Nash did an absolutely phenomenal job of keeping Senkux the hell out of that fight. He got charmed, into knocked up, into stopwatching, and Senkux flashed away from the attempted pick by Jaxplank as well. So he wasn't doing a lot of damage. He was so much of that early gold, and he didn't get a lot done.
And mind you, again, Talia is not one of those mages like Seraphine, like Victor, that's going to be dealing a lot of consistent AP damage. She's mostly there to create space for the rest of his team to play through so that Riddle cannot walk up to them. The second that this space is removed, Riddle can just press their buttons and go straight in. And as you saw, Jaxplank did the exact same with his Ghost as well. He just pressed the Ghost, he went straight in. Astralis now still in the lead, 4,000, but look at the inventories, almost 3 items for that Yone who was deprived in the early game. Stefan is looking for the Baron.
Baron started, and a teleport is summoned from Vladdy. They'll pull off the Baron. That's about it, and that question now begins again. Have Astralis waited too long? Chrisberg both of his summoners, the Weaver's Wall, used defensively for the first time this game to try and save this mid lane out of turret. Looks like it will happen. Kevo had bought a Sorcerer's Elixir, popped it for the potential Baron fight here. So that will be 500 gold used. Oh, let's really say wasted. What have you got for me? I'm seeing you.
That's a Yone with 3 items, man.
Oh,
that's a Yone that had 1 item into 3 items from Senkux, and right now he's sitting on 3 items. That is the power spike you definitely want to have on your Yone if you want to fight. Level 16 as well, 3 points onto that ultimate, whoever he catches with that one. If it's a squishy, which is what Astralis composition mostly consists of, they literally do not have a very beefy frontliner, because your beefiest member is Kiba on the Nautilus, and let me tell you what, Vladdy's 7 levels up.
Yeah, exactly that, and Vladdy has managed to recover from an early game that was textbook Astralis. Bully mid lane, then take that absolutely everywhere else, and then this mid game stalled. Riddle have done their absolute best to come straight back in, and now those solo laners are truly online. That's Seraphine, a terror right now, and Carlson about to face check a Darius, who is a level up. I'm not sure what more you can do. There's not a lot of tankiness here. The Ghost is popped. Decimate down. Weevil's all coming down, but I don't think you want this. We've seen the 1vx scenarios before from Jaxplank.
Baron is going down.
But the bleed, no way! Bleed straight out. And of course, with the top laner gone and the mid laner coming to support his deceased top laner, it is a 5v4. Taxa is charmed. Baron goes down, secured encore afterwards, kicked into the pit, but it means not at all anything as Chrisberg will fire out with the lightning crash running. Maybe they'll trade Vladdy. They do so. But can Astralis punish anymore? Golden goes Tevo, but now Jaxplank at the back end of it all, looking to continue his rampage. Apprehends Kiba. He's dead as well. Now Chrisberg and Senkux must pull off a miracle, unless Riddle with this Baron can begin to really take command of this game.
And I just want to remind everyone of that replay we keep playing over and over and over and over again in all of our pre-shows to show how good Jaxplank is at creating and absorbing pressure while his team has a major objective on their sights. Right now, Jaxplank soaked up two members and a Thalia ultimate while his team had their sights on Baron and managed to get it.
He's gone from 0-3 to 3-3 with a 700 gold bounty
And
on his
4
head.
items.
He's nearly at a Flame Horizon out of nowhere. This Gragas was monstrously ahead. Not anymore, he's not. 35 seconds on what would be sole point for Riddle now. They've got Baron, and Astralis, I think they're out of options.
And they need to be very careful because, again, they don't have the beefiest members to walk in first. Stefan, Nash, Jaxplank are chilling around that Dragon Pit, trying to stop the soul point. The soul, sorry, from going to Riddle and Jax. Jaxplank does not have his ghost to fight, so it's going to be a little bit difficult.
Jaxplank can listen to his better. Guardian Angels flash in for the apprehend. Tries to be outplayed by Taxa, but already Jax is into the backside. Kiba dies on the other side of it, and Astralis are forced straight away from the mid lane. Tails between their legs, and Riddle claim the dragon as their prize. Georgia, I have to ask, Astralis, what play patterns do they have left? Because it feels like every straight fight now is pretty heavily Riddle favored.
So usually when you have a Thalia, you need to find a target to bully on a side lane. But right now you have a Gragas and a Thalia, you have double AP damage dealers, and Jaxplank is more than well itemized to fight them both. Hell, he even killed one of them when they tried to 1v2 him, so it's just really difficult. You cannot fight the 4-man core because we mentioned how strongly Riddle drafts for it, so they're undiveable. And right now, talking about undiveable, Carlson might actually be very diveable here.
Gotta be afraid. Jaxplank's a necromancer, you kill him, but he won't die. He's got Guardian Angels to bring him back. Knocked up is Carlson, deleted by the Noxian guillotine. Bloody knocked away. Nash has popped the quickness, gets in on 2. Jaxplank forces even more flashes, goes straight forward to Stefan, chomping his way down on Grisbeck. It's a triple for Jaxplank. It's a quadra for Jaxplank, and you can say it with me, everyone. Pentakill! He is the life bringer in this game.
Riddle changing the way they play the game. They bring in the Greek rookie who commits 30 minutes every single day to drive to an internet cafe to get to his screams so he can give the big W's to his team.
From 8,000 gold down, Riddle come back. I cannot wait to see Duckley.